So, DTNVS or Katana? And it's an interesting question because they're both very good housings on the market. They basically do the same thing. However, they're drastically different in price. Now, the Nocturn Industries Katana is made in America. They go for about $1,700. It's a 3D printed housing using a multi-$100,000 machine, and I think the easiest way to describe the material on this unit is Glock polymer lower. It's basically identical to that in terms of material, in my opinion. It's a very good material, and it's very well made for a 3D printed device. But then again, 3D printing has come a very long way in the last 5 years. The second device is again DTNVS, made in Germany by a company called Act in Black, made of fiber reinforced polycarbonate. Also a very good unit, has a lot of interesting features, works a little bit differently in terms of the auto shut off, but I kind of like this a little bit more because it's got a few more safety features in it that kind of stop you from ruining your tubes. And speaking of safety, we're going to get onto what I don't like about the Katanas. So the Katanas are a very good housing. They come in at under 500 grams, but they have, in my opinion, a bit of a flaw. So we turn the unit on, we got our night vision, happy days. We have our, obviously, individual pod shut off, as I said. However, the one problem with this device is I don't know when the device is on and off. Now, you might be sitting there going, well, the fucking unit's on. Yeah, but if I take the battery cap out, like if I take the battery out and then I start playing with the cap and going or whatever, right? And I start pressing it a bunch, I don't actually know when I put that battery in. I don't know if that unit is actually going to be on or off, and that's a big problem. Now, obviously, anyone who's actually responsible is going to use bikini caps, because bikini caps are easy insurance to avoid you having the fucking device on when you're outside, or leaving the device on a table accidentally on, especially in this case because you don't know when the unit's actually going to be on or off, which is a bit annoying, but it is what it is. The battery cap kind of ruins it for me, because the button, I just can't tell if the unit's on or off. Now that might not be a huge issue because you can just articulate the unit up. You'll cut the power and you'll have the bikini caps on and you won't have to worry. In my opinion, they should have just got the switch and had it as a little dial instead of being a singular button, but whatever. Now, apart from that, the unit's really good. It has IPD stops, so you can have the distance from your eyes automatically stop. I think it's a bit of a gimmicky feature on this housing because it's not like you can't go past them. And I mean, if you're trying to bring your notes down in your helmet, you're just going to go past them eventually anyway, because they're not the strongest things in the world. So again, it's a bit of a gimmicky feature, but the fact that the feature's there for the money is pretty cool. Although for some reason every housing company seems to go on about how a piece of plastic that kind of stops your tubes going beyond a distance, like the most complicated fucking thing in the world. For whatever reason, they want to charge you $500 like the DTNVS would as an upgrade, which is bullshit. But anyway, speaking of the DTNVS, this is the DTNVS, uses a PVS 14 sort of power dial. Both systems take CL123, turn the unit on, you get your night vision, again, happy days. The articulating works a little bit differently. So I have this unit face down. If I keep this unit face down for 30 seconds, which I'm not going to do because I'm not going to waste your time, the units will automatically turn off. Likewise, if the units are pointed upwards or in a stowed position on the helmet, the units will turn off after about 3 seconds. Again, not going to waste your time showing you because I'm not going to adjust the camera. The other thing is if the units are faced forwards and are not up and down and articulated out to the side, the tubes will automatically turn off. So for instance, if I have the units here and I have them articulated up, the tubes will automatically turn off. Bring them back down, and they will turn back on. See, it's an interesting design because when they're face down and I turn them on, they didn't come on until I pointed them forwards. I feel like it's a bit more of a safety thing, but there's no concern, in my opinion, of randomly looking up and down and the units going off, because I've never had that. I've used them quite a bit now, and they work exactly how they're supposed to work, which is interesting because most companies fuck up the auto turn off feature on these units, which I'm just quite impressed that DTNVS actually, Backed in Black, managed to get them working properly, which is pretty cool. It has programming, so you can turn all those features off if you want, but that's up to you. Also has an IR light, so for instance, if I turn on the IR light, you're not going to see much difference. You get a little bit of an indicator in both tubes, as you can see, to let you know that there's an IR light on. Likewise, when there's also a low battery, you get a little bit of an indicator that lets you know that the battery's low, a little yellow light in both the tubes. Yeah, pretty much, again, these tubes are shutting off now because they were pointed down too long. But yeah, as you can see, pretty good housing. Very simple design. Again, I know that the dial is actually off, so I know the units aren't going to turn on. Again, I'm a responsible user, so I'm going to put my caps back on because I'm not a fucking idiot. But yeah, apart from that, the DTNVS and the Katanas, basically the same thing. Now, whether they're worth more money is ultimately whether you want I would say, just more well-designed system that's kind of it's just a little bit more premium, really, but at twice the cost. And again, you know, the automatic articulation, up-down detection, etc. It's really hard to have these units and leave them on accidentally, because there are so many fail-safes in this system that will turn your tubes off when you're kind of not using them for your purpose. And the fact it can kind of tell when you're using them and when you're not really using them is pretty cool. But it's never really failed me, so that's an interesting point. And I don't really see anyone on any communities ever talking about the DTNVS is randomly turning off unless it's like a defect or something like that. But yeah, they are pretty cool units. I'd say they're both good housings. In my opinion, if you're getting a Photonis tube and you're on a budget, definitely go for Katanas. You won't go wrong with them. And if you're looking for something a bit more Gucci, go for the DTNVS.